Hi, I'm Brantley. I'm a professor in the Department of Crop, Soil, and Environmental Sciences. I also serve as our state's Extension Water Resource Specialist. And in these roles, I work with stakeholders around the state to promote responsible and wise use of water resources based on science. Auburn University has a commitment for natural resource protection and improvement. Our campus has been a leader in the state, and I believe around the region, in looking at the resources that we have, mapping them out, asking for input from stakeholders, both faculty, students, visitors, for how they would like to see these resources managed. We are teaching innovative strategies for looking at streams, stormwater, soil, and other water resources. And what I love about our commitment from facilities and administration is that we're not just teaching it here, we're actually putting it into practice and investing in our resources like streams on campus, the stormwater that moves to those streams on campus, and then looking for ways to integrate students and faculty as part of research and education so that we all learn from each project to move on to the next one, and hopefully over time create this really sustainable campus that is a teaching environment outside and inside the classroom. I think Auburn's commitment to promoting practices on campus is really important, but even more than that, this has been written into some of the rules on campus. When people come and propose projects, they know that they will be asked to consider low-impact development and green infrastructure. When the question of cost comes into mind, or when people approach that, if you talk to some of our group in charge of these projects, in the beginning there was hesitancy and there was concern, but over time as these projects become more and more the norm, there is less pushback and more willingness to accept and to try new things on campus. I'm proud of all the projects that we've done at Auburn, but I have to say that if I picked one that I was most proud of, it's the Wellness Kitchen here on Parkerson Mill Creek, where our university had an opportunity to try something different. That is, instead of trying to hide a resource that wasn't appealing to the eye, they instead invested in taking a stream that was eroding, full of invasive exotic plants, and transforming it into more of a real riparian corridor on campus. One thing that has been really interesting is that this riparian corridor or streamside forest, it's really messy looking. And so working to have both visitors to campus and those of us who work on campus understand that this is temporary and every year it changes. And over the next decade, 2 decades, what we hope to see is a fully emerged canopy over a nice flowing stream that might look a little more maintained, but in the meantime, we're still working to move through that small growth to that more mature growth. So I'm proud of this stream project and what it's taught all of us about what we can do to stabilize streams, protect infrastructure, and have that ecological footprint to study. This is Parkerson Mill Creek at the Wellness Kitchen. In 2014, a stream enhancement and restoration project was completed. The project was brought together or brought to us because of the construction of the new Wellness Kitchen. And as that Wellness Kitchen was nearing completion and coming together, there was this recognition that the stream really needed some help too. And the erosion, the stream banks were collapsing. There was a real opportunity, and at that moment, the chance to do something different. So a project was put together that included maximizing floodplain, installing in-stream structures, and using native vegetation to create a more stable stream that was protective of infrastructure and improved the habitat and the water quality. When the project was completed, the transformation was clear. It was so much more aesthetically pleasing, and then we knew that over time there would be these changes, these seasonal changes. So this project then is a commitment from athletics, from the administration, and from the faculty and staff that have been working with the Parkerson-Mill Creek Watershed Group to implement projects that would have short and long-term impacts. I'd like to introduce you to a couple of the native plants that we put out here at Parkerson-Mill Creek. Native plants are important. Number one, they're homegrown, so they're adapted to the soils and to the temperatures, basically the climate of where we are. That means, hopefully, they will be established quicker, need less input, and be resistant to some of the pests that we have. They also are great habitat for birds and insects who have spent a millennia adapting their life cycles to these native plants. One of the gorgeous trees that have been put in here at Parkerson-Mill Creek and other projects that I've worked on is Sweet Bay Magnolia, and it's blooming. So this Magnolia virginiana, as you see, becomes a large tree, and it's got just gorgeous leaves that flutter in the wind and have this silvery underside. Underneath the magnolia, the Sweet Bay Magnolia, is Itea virginica, or Virginia sweet spire. This is a shade tolerant and moisture tolerant. That is, we can put this right on a stream and it can manage those wet soil conditions. These two species in particular here in an urban area are nice because they are very pretty. The magnolia and the Virginia sweet spire have year-round appeal, so that as the leaves turn, they turn this beautiful red color. They've got beautiful white flowers. And another cool thing about Itea virginica is that you can take these stems in the dormant season, clip them, and push them in really close to the stream, and they'll actually sprout. They have the ability to be live stakes. So these are examples of a canopy tree and a shrub that we've put in. This is another native plant that is used a lot in landscaping. It's pretty hardy. Once it gets established, it's going to stay in place, and it's also very attractive. It has these beautiful pink spires that come up and just really add to a landscape. There was some research done out of our Department of Horticulture that looked up the phosphorus uptake of muhly grass, and it did a fantastic job. So it's working in our landscape as well as being attractive in our landscape and a native plant. If we want to take a stroll down into the floodplain here at Parkerson-Mill Creek, this is one of, again, a native tree that you will see a lot along stream sides throughout Alabama and the southeast. This is river birch, or Betula nigra, and it is another one of those plants that can manage really wet soils. There are special plants, these hydrophytes, or water-loving plants, that can withstand waterlogged conditions. So again, really attractive, and you'll see river birch planted at apartment complexes and at commercial sites because it's got this papery bark that kind of falls off, and so it is a lovely tree as it gets older. One of my favorite trees in the world is bald cypress. Bald cypress has these beautiful feathery leaves. Again, another plant that can withstand water soils, and so we wanted to get it right down here in the floodplain. It's a deciduous conifer, so in the fall you'll see the bald cypress leaves start turning this beautiful cinnamon red color before they fall off. The bald cypress also is that tree that puts up little knees when it's in wet soils. So one nice thing about having it down here is we don't really want to mow down here. So if these little knees pop up, we're maintaining this vegetation to be lush and to really help us hold those soils in place. And the last thing I will say while we're on our trek to the floodplain is this is a silky dogwood. This is one of the species that we promote through live staking. That is, we take these dormant branches in the wintertime, cut them off into 2 to 3 foot lengths, and then we're able to install them right into the stream bank. When the warm summer seasons or spring growing season arrives, that stick will put out leaves and roots. So it's an inexpensive way to get native species started And again, just a lovely tree in the dogwood family, and it's doing a great job holding our soils in place and providing habitat and shade. When you're working in a stream side, actually just when you're working in several landscapes and there is disturbance, you open yourself up for recolonization of not all plants that we want. So some of the plants that we've had volunteer in here, like pine trees and sycamore, we're excited to have those volunteers, native plants. Some of the plants that have come in we're not so excited about because they're able to take advantage of a disturbed landscape, and especially these stream corridors where it's just like a conveyor belt through the landscape that helps them get established, and that is of course invasive plants. So I look at this and I see some annuals coming in. We've got beautiful black-eyed Susans and Rudbeckia. Again, our silky dogwood that we're really excited because we planted it, but hang on a second. Back here we've got tallow tree or popcorn tree. Several of our species that of concern have been brought in for other purposes and escaped and become established. Not just established, but are really invading our landscapes. These plants often have very little value as it relates to habitat and become so thick that they choke out the native vegetation. So being vigilant on pulling up, using the correct chemical herbicides to take care of these plants is really important in the long-term maintenance of stream projects and again just other landscaping practices throughout our state. There were 3 in-stream structures placed here on Parkerson Mill Creek at the Wellness Kitchen. The boulder cross veins are a little bit like a U that's placed into the stream with the arms facing up so that as water comes downstream, the water rushes up those arms and slows down a little bit like a runaway truck ramp and then spills over into the center of the channel. This does a couple things. One, it takes some of the pressure off of those stream banks as the water is running up and then over to the center of the channel. 2, it's helping create some habitat where that water falls back in, a little scour hole. So we're trying to diversify the stream bed to have different habitat types for the different in-stream critters that like different habitat types. Working with some of our stream ecology friends, we know that the undercut stream banks where the roots are, those scour pools, they're really important in promoting a diverse set of species that can thrive in a stream. So if you want to take a look at this boulder structure, these boulders are put together really, it looks simple, but it's a really complex and finesse in getting these really large flat rocks placed on top of footer rocks and then having the geotextile to prevent piping underneath. So you can see the water runs uphill and then over into the center of the channel. It's a great way to manage flows, to resist that erosive energy, and to redirect some of that energy into the center of the channel, as well as help hold the grade. When this project was first completed, it really looked more manicured and more like a garden, blending in nicely to some of the more manicured non-stream side landscapes that we have on campus. And we knew that over time, the shrubs that we planted, the wildflowers whose seeds were sown, and some of these trees that were installed, that they would grow and change. What I don't think I did a good job, and one of my key lessons learned, was talking through how messy the stream would look as those trees get really established and begin to provide that shade that then shades out some of that understory that does look not like other landscapes on campus. And so one of our key lessons learned is to really communicate the importance of these streamside forests. They are providing not only habitat, there's always birds, all sorts of critters, providing shade to the stream, but they're also helping with those pollutant transformations in the floodplain area. When those floodwaters come up and out onto the floodplain, those roots and the microbes associated with them, they're helping transform potential pollutants into less harmful forms. So the more that we can get those native plants established, get those strong roots to hold that soil in place to help promote those pollutant transformations and really get our floodplains active, the better we will see, not only as this stream as an example, but throughout our state. So another key lesson learned is this is a demonstration project. This project alone is not changing all of the water quality downstream. It's helping, but its opportunity to be transformational in how we approach managing streams is invaluable. And I think that's another important lesson to share. The future on campus is very bright for water resources. Our Auburn University's facilities and administration has made a commitment for new projects to incorporate green infrastructure and low-impact development. We're also looking for other opportunities to retrofit existing areas. So as we take this watershed approach to looking at how we can protect and improve Parkerson Mill Creek, the stormwater that's flowing into it, I think that the opportunities will continue to increase, and over time we will see a difference as we look for not only that stormwater pollution, but some of the other sources of pollution that our group is really working hard to identify. And when I say our group, that's because I lump all of us together who are working towards protecting the stream. There's not just one entity that's taking it all on, but I think we're a great team, from athletics to administration to faculty, staff, and students, and then the visitors that are on campus that will begin to see and appreciate these changes. Students, faculty, and visitors to campus have easy steps they can take to be involved in protecting and improving our water resources. Some very simple steps include just putting litter in its place, recycling. On game days, our Office of Sustainability and our facilities groups have trash cans and recycling bins all throughout campus. Other ways is to tell a friend. If you're watching this and you didn't realize what the stream restoration project was at Parkerson Mill Creek, next time you walk by and someone says, "God, I wish they would mow that," let them know that this is a natural area that we are renovating. It is a restoration in progress. So telling folks about what we're trying to do on campus, getting involved in volunteer opportunities to pick up litter, become an Alabama Water Watch citizen monitor. It's a simple program that's free that trains you how to understand the physical and chemical parameters of our surface waters. So it's really easy to get involved. You can just show appreciation, share others, pick up trash, and when you're on campus, take a look around at some of the hidden practices that are right in plain sight that are protecting water resources.